It was just another loud night inside a crowded bar, until one biker crossed the line. In front of everyone, he ripped the waitress's shirt, ready to humiliate her. But the moment her scars were revealed, the entire bar went silent. What happened next transformed shame into respect and left every single person speechless. Before we dive in, tell me, what time is it where you're watching, and which country are you tuning in from? Drop it in the comments below. The bar was alive with the usual chaos of Friday night. Bottles clinked, laughter bounced off the wooden walls, and the jukebox in the corner belted out an old rock song that everyone seemed to know by heart. Outside, the rumble of engines had announced the arrival of a biker gang long before they pushed open the doors. Their presence filled the room like smoke, loud, heavy, impossible to ignore. Among them was Rex, the kind of man people instinctively stepped aside for. Broad shoulders, leather vest, tattoos crawling up his arms like ivy, and a permanent sneer etched on his face. He and his crew strutted inside, boots thudding on the worn floorboards, claiming the space as if they owned it. Regulars at Murphy's bar exchanged uneasy glances. The bikers were trouble, and everyone knew it. Behind the counter, Emily kept, her head down, polishing glasses and forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She was young, maybe mid-20s, with brown hair tied back in a messy ponytail and a tiredness that seemed older than her years. Her life had been hard, too hard, but she carried herself with a quiet strength that most never noticed. Tonight, though her hands trembled as she prepared drinks for the bikers who barked their orders without a shred of respect. "Hey, sweetheart," Rex called out, slamming an empty glass on the counter. "Another round for the boys, and hurry up this time. We're not here for your daydreams." His voice dripped with mockery, and the men around him laughed. Emily nodded quickly, her voice soft. "Right away." But Rex wasn't finished. He leaned over the counter, eyes narrowing, as if he was studying her. "What's with the long sleeves in this heat? Hiding something?" Her heart skipped. She stiffened, her eyes darting to the floor. "Just cold, that's all." The gang chuckled again, sensing weakness, and Rex's sneer widened. He stepped around the counter before Emily could move away, his boots echoing like a drumbeat of menace. The bar went quiet. Every pair of eyes followed him, but no one dared to intervene. With one swift motion, Rex grabbed Emily's arm and yanked at her shirt. The sound of fabric tearing sliced through the silence. Gasps erupted across the room. A ripple of shock spread like wildfire. And then time seemed to stop. Beneath the ripped fabric across Emily's shoulder and upper arm wasn't what Rex or anyone expected. It wasn't a tattoo or a scar she was ashamed of. It was a vivid, angry burn scar, raw, twisted skin that told a story of fire and pain. The bar froze. Laughter died instantly. The bikers themselves went silent, their smirks vanishing as if wiped away by an invisible hand. Rex's grip loosened as he stared at what he had uncovered, and for the first time that night, his face betrayed uncertainty. Emily stumbled back, clutching the torn fabric to her chest. Her eyes glistened, not with shame, but with something far stronger, defiance. She drew a shaky breath, then spoke, her voice carrying through the stunned silence. "You think you're strong because you can rip a shirt off a woman in front of your friends? You think that makes you a man? Let me tell you something." She paused, swallowing the lump in her throat. "I've lived through something that would have broken every single one of you. Fire took everything from me once. My home, my family, my peace. I carry these scars because I survived, and I'll be damned if I let you make me feel weak for it." No one moved. The words hung in the air, heavier than smoke. At a corner table, an old man who had been a quiet regular for years put down his glass and whispered, almost to himself, "Brave girl." Emily's chest heaved as she continued, her voice growing, steadier with each word. "You look at me like I'm broken, but I'm still standing. You think this scar makes me less? No, it makes me stronger than you'll ever be. Rex took a step back, his swagger dissolving into silence. He had walked into that bar ready to humiliate, but now all eyes were on him, not with admiration, but with judgment. Even his crew shifted uncomfortably, as if the weight of Emily's truth was pressing down on them too. Then, from the far end of the bar, a man rose. He wasn't part of the bikers. He wasn't even one of the regulars who usually kept their heads down. He was just an ordinary guy, mid-30s, dressed in work clothes stained with grease and oil. His name was Jack, a mechanic who came to Murphy's after long shifts to nurse a beer in peace. Jack walked slowly toward Emily, his gaze steady. "You don't need to stand there alone," he said quietly, but his voice carried in the silence. He took off his flannel shirt and draped it gently over her shoulders, covering the torn fabric. His gesture was simple, but in that moment it felt monumental. The bar erupted, not in laughter or noise, but in applause. First a few claps, then more, until the room filled with the sound of support, of respect. Rex's face burned with humiliation. His jaw tightened, fists clenching at his sides. But he saw the shift in the room, the way even his own men avoided his eyes, their loyalty wavering. He had wanted to show dominance, but all he had shown was cowardice. Emily stood taller now, wrapped in Jack's shirt, her scar visible but no longer hidden. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of strangers who now saw her not with pity, but with admiration. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like she had to hide. Rex muttered something under his breath and motioned for his crew to leave. The bikers shuffled out, their boots heavy against the floor, but their presence deflated, their swagger gone. When the doors slammed shut behind them, the bar seemed to exhale. The tension lifted. Conversation started up again, but this time, with a new energy, a quiet reverence for what they had just witnessed. Jack turned to Emily. "You okay?" She nodded, though tears shimmered in her eyes. "Yeah, I think I am." From that night on, Emily was no longer just the waitress at Murphy's. She became something more, an emblem of strength, a reminder that scars are not weaknesses, but marks of survival. People came to the bar not just for drinks, but to see her, to talk to her, to hear the way she spoke about resilience and finding courage in pain. And as for Rex and his crew, word spread quickly. Their reputation, once rooted in intimidation, now carried the stain of shame. They had been silenced, not by fists or fear, but by the undeniable power of truth. Weeks later, Emily found herself at the bar on a quieter night, sitting across from Jack. They talked about life, about loss, about how some wounds never truly heal, but can still become sources of strength. "I used to think my scar was a curse," she admitted softly, "that it made me less, but now I think maybe it's my proof that I can survive anything." Jack smiled, raising his glass. "To survival, and to strength that cowards will never understand." They clinked glasses, and for the first time in a long time, Emily felt peace. Not because her past was erased, but because she finally understood her worth. The lesson lingered in the air long after the night ended. True strength isn't in tearing others down, but in rising despite the fire, despite the pain, despite the scars. The whole bar had witnessed it that night, when laughter turned to silence, when disrespect turned to awe, and when a single act of cruelty revealed the kind of courage that could freeze even the loudest crowd. And Emily, once just a waitress hiding behind long sleeves, became living proof that the strongest people are often the ones carrying scars the world cannot see, because sometimes it takes the cruelest act to reveal the brightest strength. And in that bar, on that unforgettable night, everyone left knowing one truth. Scars are not signs of weakness. They are the badges of warriors. who refused to fall.